Hi everybody and welcome to the video. Today I am going to be explaining to you a little bit of the riftblade spec. So I have 61 riftblade here and the soul tree looks like this. Obviously, I mean you can put riftblade in the middle and reaver on the left or warlord on the left. I mean it really doesn't matter the order in which you put your souls. What matters is more like your point spread that you're putting out. So for Riftblade, we're going to put 61 points into Riftblade. So you can just whenever you're making your spec, you can just click the arrow that's on the side of the icon here. So there's usually like a little arrow that you can click up and it just fills it all out for you, which is very useful because instead of having to go 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 blah blah blah, so filling it up in one go is very useful. It's good. And then you put 15 points into Reaver. I put 5 into Entropic Embrace, which increases non-physical damage by 10%. Riftblade is not a physical damage soul. It is a elemental damage soul. So here it says, for the description, it says the Riftblade is an offensive warrior who uses both blade and elemental forces to attack his enemies. Versatile in their attacks, they are able to attack at range with spears of elemental energy or in close combat with enhancing their weapon with raw elemental power. So, as I said, it's elemental, and Reaver and Riftblade really play well together in terms of non-physical damage. Reaver says the Reavers are offensive specialists who combine the art of combat with the entropic energies of death. The slightest touch of their weapon can spread disease and incite madness, leaving enemies incapable of mounting an assault against the Reaver and their allies. So we have 5 into entropic embrace, 5 into shadow strength, which increases strength by 10%. Strength is like primary, what do you say? The primary stat that we look for in warriors. So here it says offense. We need attack power, but in terms of main stats, we need strength. So strength is our main, the most important stat for our calling. And then it's attack power with a lot of crit power as well. So attack power, crit power, physical crit isn't really important for us. It's good if you have it, but it's not the most important stat that we have. And then hit also for rating is very important. The rest of this is not important. Resistances used to be important. I'm just going to give you like a little bit of history of the game. Resistances used to be important back in Vanilla Rift. Back in Vanilla Rift, we used to have. I didn't play back then, but there used to be raids that were specifically one plane. So, for example, life resist. Let me check. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? If we check achievements. So if we check achievements and we check out raids in Rift, Greenscale's Blight used to be a life raid, and I believe also Primeval Feast. So these two raids, you needed to stack life resist. And then for death, you needed to stack death resist for River of Souls. And then fire resist, you needed to stack fire resist, I believe, for Rise of the Phoenix, because it's a fire-based raid, and Infernal Dawn as well. And then water resist, you needed to stack it for oh, it's not there anymore. But there used to be Hammernell Fortress. Hammernell Fortress, you needed to stack water resist, and then earth resist was for Gilded Prophecy, and oh, water resist also for drowned halls, and then air resist. Air resist, I'm not sure. I don't think there was an air resist. I don't think there was an air raid. But all that to say, like, resistances are not important anymore, but they used to be. So right now I have the most stat for life resist. So I'd be great for like Greenscale's Blight. Anywho, so we have 5 in Shadow Strength and then 5 in Plagued Grip because it increases your attack power and weapon damage by 10%. So those are very important for Reaver. And then we have 0 Warlord. At this, I mean, for 4.2, people have found that Warlord is the best off soul. So basically, like the 0 soul, because of Sergeant's Order, because of the legendary version of Sergeant's Order, because you stun the target and then that target takes 100% more damage. So that is very good. Anywho, so then you put your legendary Rift Burst on, and then you put Icy Burst. So let's see, Rift Burst, you have... What's different about about Rift Burst, sorry? Okay. So the warrior's weapon is coated in ice for 15 seconds. The next attack ability that hits deals extra water damage, and then what's additional about this legendary is that your other bursts within 20 seconds deal 65% more damage. So with 3 points, with three attack points, when you use this finisher, because this is a finisher, when you use this finisher, you're going to deal, for me, it's 255,845 damage. So that's great. um, Then your next legendary is Icy Burst. The warrior's weapon is coated in ice for 15 seconds. The next attack ability that hits deals extra water damage. Also causes your auto attacks to deal bonus water damage. This can occur up to twice a second. So yeah, what's different about this is the also causes your auto attacks to deal bonus water damage. So that's great. And then your next legendary is Blade of the Ascended. I haven't really tried with either of these two. But I was told that Blade of the Ascended was the best. So it grants Stormblade, Blade of Elemental Affinity, Planar Blade, Blade of the Ascended, which reduces the power cost of non-physical finishers by 2 and the damage of Riftblade abilities by 30%. Casting a finisher causes weapon swings to trigger multiple attacks for 10 seconds. So this is a buff. It is a buff, and here it is for me on my right hand bars. So I have the most important buffs that you will have in this spec are Blade of the Ascended, Binding of Affliction, Avatar of the Rift, and Avatar of Flame. These two here, Avatar of Wind and Avatar of Water, these are for like open world content because they're more tanky than pure DPS. So, for example, Avatar of the Rift enhances elemental ability damage by 25%, in addition to reducing the power cost of elemental builders by 2. And then Avatar of Flame, ability hits have a 35% chance to deal bloody blah fire damage back to the attacker. This Avatar of Wind, however, is it increases dodge by 3% and movement speed by 16%. So it's good for dodging attacks. And then Avatar of Water reduces damage taken by 10%. So that's also good for if you're taking too many hits, if your life is going down, then you could put these two on as opposed to these two. But for pure damage, you will go with these two instead. Anyways, as for masteries, you will go with enduring survival because of the stone shield. Hang on, because of this. So if you use this, then stone shield. While stone shield is active, your armor is increased by 14,000, and your resists are increased by 455. Can only occur once every 30 seconds. I mean, and also you heal 25% of your endurance every 3 seconds. So that's good. You could choose whichever, because honestly, like level 61 and at a stretch 62. I mean, 61 is very much like your choice for any spec really. For not just for Riftblade, but for any spec, it's your choice whether you want to absorb damage, if you want to ability cost is reduced. But well, this is good for Tempest. and also for champion because of Titan Strike. So wavelength is good for Tempest, Titan Strike is good for champion. So I mean, for those two specs, you need to use this. Dying Breath, I mean, if you're using Berserker, which is Warlord. So if you're in a Warlord spec, then yeah, you're gonna use this. Lights Reprisal, Lights Vengeance, and Retaliation, Refresh, Aggressive Block. So that's more for tanking. Because Void Knight also uses Retaliation. But for this, I mean, it's kind of your choice for Riftblade, whichever one you want to use, because you could choose to have enemies you have damaged within the last 3 seconds apply Dying Breath to you when they die. You could choose that, or you could choose I want to have like a shield whenever I get damaged. It's up to you. And then anyways, next I chose for Riftblade. For level 62, I chose Steadfast Soul because of the second list item in there. Reduces the cooldown of burst synergy by 30 seconds. So burst synergy is this little icon, the yellow one. Next, for level 63, I chose Energy Reserves because it increases the number of avatar buffs you can have active by 1. So if I wasn't using this, Energy Reserves, I would only be able to use one buff, one of these avatar buffs. But because I have this active, then I can use 2. So that's why I can use both Avatar of the Rift and Avatar of Flame. Next, I use Precision Strikes. Attack point generating attacks. Place a stack of precision strikes on you, increasing your damage by 2% per stack. Max stacks 3, lasts for 15 seconds, and increases the duration of damage over time effects, healing over time effects, and bleeds by 6 seconds. Those are good. And then I use Power Manipulation. Causes the next 5 damaging abilities to deal an additional blah blah ethereal damage to the enemy. Lasts 30 seconds. That's great. I think I use it as a self buff. Do I? No, never mind. Anywho, so let's begin by looking at my macros. Yeah, it's my first. This was the first spec actually that I one of my friends actually helped me figure it out. I was using a shitty tanky DPS spec that did very little DPS, and then my friend was like, "Well, you don't have the Storm Legion souls, so how about you use this Riftblade spec because it's pretty easy and it'll deal pretty good damage." So I started using that and I haven't looked back since because it's great. I love Riftblade. I mean, I haven't looked back. Yes, I have because I have a lot of different specs now, but in terms of like, yes, I love Riftblade. Riftblade is great because it deals very good single target damage and it deals very good AoE damage too. So it's very versatile. So anyways, let's look at my macros. So this is a single target builder. I use number show rift strike, suppress macro failures, cancel buff fork. Fork is this little buff here that I'm hovering over. Fork spear abilities hit up to 5 enemies but deal 50% less damage. So that's like an AoE buff. So we want to cancel this because we're single target. So cancel buff fork, cast rift strike, cast Stonespear, cast Searing Strike, cast at self power manipulation, and cast ravaging strike. I put ravaging strike in there just in case I'm ranged and I need to stay at ranged for whatever reason. It's good to have ravaging strike as your ranged ability because Searing Strike is the only I think it's the only ability that's not ranged possible. In other words, it means that Searing Strike cannot be used at range, but the other two can. Searing Strike is an instant ability, and these two have a cooldown. So because this is only melee, I have Ravaging Strike as like my just in case I'm at ranged. Get it? And then I have another builder. So I have a single target builder number 2. Yes. Number show soul sickness, suppress macro failures, cast at self, power manipulation, cast dire corruption, cast flamespear, cast soul sickness. So why do I have this? Because because riftblade is like a 21-second cooldown, global cooldown. No, not global cooldown, but 21-second spec, meaning that the entire rotation lasts 21 seconds. I don't know if that makes sense, but if it does, yay. And then you have a finisher macro. So I have number show burst synergy, which shows you this icon. Suppress macro failures, cast Sergeant's Order, cast burst synergy, cast rift burst, cast fiery burst, cast icy burst, and cast dire blow. So these are my basically buttons 1 through 4 are my single target abilities. 1, 2, 3, 4, single target. And I also have mouse button 4 here. And here we have, why do I have this? That's not good. Okay, so we can delete this. And then we have an AoE. Oh no, shit, what did I do? Oh no. What have I done? Oh god. Okay, so single target, 3, builder, 3, RB. So we're going to call it what? Show dire corruption, I think it was. Suppress macro failures. Then cast dire corruption. Cast ravaging strike. Whoops, strike. We're going to show actually ravaging strike. That was a stupid mistake, I'm sorry. So here we go. We have okay, so 1 through 4 are your single target abilities. Do not delete them like I just did. Oh my god. And then you have AoE builders. So I have number show rift strike, suppress macro failures, cast not active fork. So not active is going to activate because if it senses that something is not active, it's going to activate it. I don't know why it's called not active. I don't like not active, the wording, but that's what it's called. And then you have cast Drift Strike, cast Stonespear, cast Thunder Strike, and cast at self power manipulation. So this is your builder, and then you have a finisher for AoE. It's number show Icy Burst, suppress macro failures, cast Storm Burst, cast Earth Burst, cast Fiery Burst, and cast Icy Burst. So there you go. And then I have a stun AoE. Number show Rift Barrage, suppress macro failures, cast add GTAE Rift Barrage. I have it as a macro because of the GTAE. If you I'll show you. Where is it? Should be in utilities, right? So if you don't have it as a macro, it will like give you this little choose where to put it. So if you have it as a macro and GTAE, it's going to basically put the ground target AoE ability around your target. So let's say I choose this as my target. The stun is going to affect that circle around this mob, around this target. So for example, there you go. It targeted this target and it put the ground target around this target. So that's what stun GTAE means. It puts your target around, it puts the ground target AoE around the target that you have targeted. Wow. And then you have an interrupt. I have number show wind spear, suppress macro failures, cast at focus wind spear. So that's that. Now let's look at the rotation. What's great about this spec is that you can teleport. So here I am. So it is rift travel where you can teleport wherever you target, and then you also have Rift Walk, which teleports behind the enemy. So here I am. Whee! And then rotation wise, we're gonna look number one 3 times, and then 4. Okay, and then 3, 2, 3 times, and then back to 1. 1, 1, 1, 3, 4, 4, and then mouse, because I have this ability as a mouse ability, and then 2, and 3, and 1, 1, 1, 3, however many times it takes, and then 4, 4, mouse, and then 2, 2, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, 4, 4, mouse, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, 4, 4, mouse, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1. It's very repetitive. It's basically 1, 1, 1, 3, 4, 4. In this case, 4 again. 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, 4, 4, mouse. Now, I'm using mouse because this dire corruption is part of my button number 4, right? So it is part of my button number 4. I'll show you the macro again. Number 4 is this. So we have Dire Corruption, Flamespear, and Soul Sickness. Soul Sickness used to have a cooldown, but then they removed it. So now, if I were to press 4, 4, 4, it would just cast Soul Sickness twice because Dire Corruption is on cooldown already. So it would cast Flamespear, Soul Sickness, because this is on cooldown. So that's why I have Frost Strike as a separate button, because both Soul Sickness and Frost Strike are instant abilities now. So Soul Sickness does not have a cooldown anymore, so I have to basically have fire off both of my abilities. So I would fire Soul Sickness and also Frost Strike at melee. Frost Strike is a very hard hitter, that's why we need to fire it off. So there's that. And then for AoE, so for AoE, I have my buttons 5, 6, 7, 8 as part of my rotation. I also can I can fire off Dire Corruption and Flamespear whenever the urge strikes, but they are separate from my buttons because I guess I could put Dire Corruption as part of my rotation here. So here, let's add this Rift Strike. So we're going to cast Dire Corruption. But as for Flamespear, I cannot put it in my rotation because it has a cooldown of 4 seconds, but the damage actually lasts 21 seconds. So you just need to keep track of your cooldowns. I have my little cooldowns here that will show here, so I can keep track of Flamespear from there. So here we go. Let's go. 6, 6, 6, and then I can 8 and 5. So this is a big rotation, big cooldowns, these two. 8 and 5 are big rotation. But the rest of the time it's just 6, 6, 6, 7, 6, 6, 6, 7. And if ever I want, I can fire off Flamespear. You know, it doesn't matter. So here I can keep track of my Flamespear cooldown. And now 8 is coming back off rotation, so we can fire that off as a big cooldown. There we go. Big boom. One thing to keep in mind is that the finishers in Riftblade are off global cooldown, all of them. Okay, so if like if you're lagging, it might affect your DPS because it's very fast paced. Riftblade is. Okay, like I'm not even waiting for any of the global cooldowns to come back up for most of my finisher. Like this is on global cooldown, but 7, all of the 7 abilities are off global cooldown. Okay, so it's a very fast-paced but very simple spec too. Okay, and then I can fire off a flamespear. Woo! Flamespear is also a hard hitter, so you want to fire it off whenever it's off cooldown here. Ah, this is off cooldown, so you can fire it off right now. Woo! And then flamespear is coming off, so let's fire it off. So there's a lot of numbers here. Riftblade is, I don't know anymore, but I think it's kind of less DPS than Champion because it is a hybrid spec. So I think it is less DPS than Champion, but very good for if you're in a fight that involves changing between a boss and minions and whatever. So it's very, very good. Yeah, 8. And Flamespear. Big, big, big numbers. Woo! Well, it's a very simple spec, to be very honest, but it's a very good spec too. So you can always switch back and forth. Woo! So you can always switch back and forth, like so. And then you go to the boss. So as you can see, like it's very, very versatile, and the numbers are good. They're not great for whenever you do change. I mean, they're not great for single target. They're not fantastic for AoE, but they're very good for a versatility fight. So whenever I did do dungeons at one point during Nightmare Tide, I would play using Riftblade because I didn't need to change specs. Woo! So there you go. That's Riftblade for you. Yay! And yeah, so I keep like my major abilities here to check out the cooldowns, and this as well. For the rest, I mean, these are the buttons that you use really. The rest of them, like rift travel, I don't really use much. Actually, I should put it there. And stun, I mean, it's good, but it's not amazing. So there's your rift blade. And let me know if you have any questions. I can try to help. And I hope you enjoy rift blade because it's my favorite spec. I think out of them all. It's so fun and versatile that you can't help but just enjoy playing it like whenever you feel like it. So goodbye.